Hey y'all, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy. Not a long video today. It's going to be not instructional, but we're going to get back to that stuff real soon. No, today what we want to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about, is analysis paralysis. Over the years, a number of people have approached me and William, Michelle, about getting it started and doing this sort of thing. And maybe going out there trying, their hand at it. And then years later, when you check back with that person, you find out that they've really not made any progress at all. Now, I can't say this is a one-off because from the top of my head, I could probably fill volumes with the number of people out there that suffer from this very same thing. You feel like, okay, I got to do my due diligence, it's wise. But at the same time, they never get to the point. I'm sure there's a lot of other things going on there, and it could be some of the things that I originally dealt with getting into this space and a number of other things. And for me, it was fear of failure. So I would go through this analysis paralysis over and over and over, trying to figure every little jot and tittle about how to do something, because I was raised in an environment, not a healthy one, but I was raised in an environment where you were ostracized, shunned for failing, where you were taught to never fail at any cost. And if you were, it put you to the point that if you weren't careful, you would never try anything. And that's exactly the space I was, which is why one of the most impactful things that ever happened in my life was hearing Joel Salatin at, I think, the first Mother Earth News Fair say, if it's worth doing, then it's worth doing poorly at first. Folks, that was not only it was paradigm changing for me. And when I looked around in that crowd, I was like, okay, did anybody else not feel that? I mean, I felt it right to my core. And it was at that moment that I said, okay, enough analysis paralysis, enough fear of failure. I'm going to fail, and I'm going to do it in the way that Teddy Roosevelt said, that you fail while daring greatly. Not meaning that you necessarily have to shoot for the sun and stars. You don't have to do that. But go out there and do things that maybe it enabled me to go out there and realize that there are things that I don't know the first thing about. Whether it was butchery, go out there, do it, make it happen. Fail miserably, fail often, because you learn in those things. And then be comfortable with failure. Not that you go out there trying to fail, but you go out there knowing that, the likelihood is you are going to fail. So whether it's building a chicken tractor, whether it's building a sheep tractor that we showed you how to do in, I think, video 100 or 200, no matter what it is, folks, go out there and fail, but do your due diligence. But I would also say don't deviate too far from the recipe. For example, go to Food Network, pull up your favorite recipe, I don't care what it is, and then look at the reviews of that recipe, and you'll find out that the majority of the negative views out there are people that change 50% of the components in the recipe. Don't go out there and build Joel Salatin's chicken tractor, change half of the way he designed it, as I did the first time, and then wonder why it's too heavy and why it doesn't work. Don't try to innovate until you do the basics. When you learn to play basketball, you learn how to dribble and pass before you learn how to slam, right? So it's the same thing here. So you get these little victories at first that maybe have some sort of a crescendo into a larger victory. And folks, I'm telling you this from experience. I'm telling you from a person that's come from that fear of failure, from that analysis paralysis, and to the point where it could cripple you if you're not real careful about it. So go out there, do your due diligence, and then there's got to be a point where you say, look, I'm going to get after it. So maybe you don't have a piece of land right now. Maybe you can start like I was doing when we first started this YouTube channel. Had a farm 2.5 hours away, but I had a job where I was working and I lived during the week. Well, I couldn't go home and farm, but guess what? Asked around, found allies at my job, and it's all chronicled in some of the first episodes here. And eventually I was farming at work. And then had I stayed there, I would have been farming on the people next door to there. And it was just a matter of asking people that owned these open spaces that all they did was turn them into lawns. But because I was able to build on what little I had, whether it was a container, then something bigger, get allies. Maybe you want to do a community food plot. No matter what the case may be, start small, get those little moral victories, and then move on up. It's the same thing when it comes to your finances. Dave Ramsey teaches the same exact thing. Get those little victories. Don't necessarily go with your greatest debt. Go with the one that's easily fixable. then you move on from there. And folks, I'm not saying this from a preaching or a lofty point of view. I'm saying it from a person that has actually come from there, from that fear of failure, from the overanalysis, from all those things that cripple you. Do little things, make little victories, take that, put it in your wheelhouse, learn from it, and then move on to something else. And also stick to the recipe. So folks, I hope some of this stuff helps. For all of you people that are sitting on the fence and thinking, man, I don't know where to start, just do something small. Start from there and then build on. So hopefully this helps, folks. Till next time, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. We'll see you next time.